as today's degree do more moments as the world happens. What a day it's been.
Looks like it's going to be a brand new game there next time, didn't it? And that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Center World Cup tonight. Next here on ESPN.
Yeah, complete post-game coverage. What a match it was. What a run it was for the United States. Post-game coverage here on ESPN. We move over to ESPN News. We're going to breathe. We're going to relax. Join us, guys.
We are live on our Hangout. It is nice to get my camera back. I hope the computer lasts through the period. I hope people see the tweet and are able to log in. I hear somebody. Who is that? Oh, awesome. We have Brianna.
Hi.
Brianna wins the prize for the first person to connect up.
Woo.
You're very purple tonight.
Yeah, my room has like a light purple and then the sun comes in and it's very...
That's okay. You're here. That's the important thing. I just spent a miserable 2 hours. Hey, Katie. Trying to do a hangout with some people and my computer could not compete with all the people watching the internet, I think. I couldn't get a solid signal. Katie is there, and Daniel is there.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I know a few other people are hanging around. I guess it'll just take them a minute to show up here. Oh, I should probably find my notes. All right. Daniel, you look very studious in your glasses.
I've been trying to write this paper.
Okay. Okay, Daniel, while we're waiting, what is the data that you need?
Well, you had mentioned earlier to find Appendix B, correct?
Correct.
And then the different suggestions that you say to look at involves welfare and things like that.
Oh, that assignment.
The essay that's due Friday.
No, the one that's due Friday doesn't have welfare in it. That's SA4. So go look at SA4. Brianna's here. Wow, look at all the crowd. Chad, good to see you, bud. Janet.
Hi.
Andy, Jessica, and Josh. Awesome. We almost have a full house here. It would be fun if we closed it out and no one else could get in. That would be awesome. Daniel, go look at SA4 real fast because that's the one that's due on Friday.
Right. It's asking for the inflation rates.
Correct.
And, right. I know what assignment I'm talking about. My question to you is Appendix B doesn't have the inflation rates in it.
Oh yes, it does. You need. It is available in multiple places.
I've spent an hour looking at about 10 different ones, and I can't find whatever you want us to have.
Actually, I used a different site for inflation. That was a accredited site, and I just got it from there. Because it took a while. I couldn't find it anywhere on the site you gave us.
Yeah, what site did you give us? Because on my homepage of our blog, it doesn't have a site to look at all.
Well, everything that you need for that assignment is available in the Economic Report of the President in Appendix B.
Right.
But the inflation data is not labeled inflation data.
The only thing I have in the Appendix B's that I've been able to find has been everything about gross domestic product and everything. That's the only thing I can find. I can't find anything involving unemployment or things like that.
Okay, well, Chad has given you an alternative place to go look. Chad, did you tell us what the site is?
1 second and I can.
I mean, what website do you want us to use that you're finding the information on is more what I'm concerned about.
Chad, this is the real world. There is no exact answer. There's multiple places where you can find this information, and you have to use your best judgment. Okay, I can tell you the source of each of those variables, but the economic report of the president is a perfectly good secondary source where you can use it. So there is no exact one place where it's available. It's available in a lot of places.
How do I know that what I'm finding is what you want?
Well, if it's right, then it's what I want.
I'm not willing to take that risk.
Okay.
I
Chad?
spent over an hour on this.
Okay, Chad.
Yeah.
So what was the site that you used?
I just typed in the Google inflation rates. And
So how do you know that what you got was a reputable site?
because I looked through several of them to correlate information to see if it was saying around the same type of information.
But you're comfortable with what you got?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
It didn't give me any weird ratios or anything like that.
Does anybody else have a suggestion here?
I don't know. I just Googled it real quick, and there's a usinflationcalculator.com.
Hey, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true, right?
Right, and it's got blue on it, so I don't.
Okay.
I don't know.
Heidi has her normal enigmatic smile there. You look like the Mona Lisa, Heidi.
Yeah, I'm here showing good face. We've had a crazy weekend and have a crazy week. I have kids leaving for camp, coming home from camp. I'm just happy to make it.
Good. Well, what you could always do is go to the source. In the chapter on inflation, it explains what part of the federal government actually calculates the inflation statistics.
Okay.
In the chapter on GDP, the very first chapter, it explains what part of the government calculates the GDP statistics. It's probably in the economic growth chapter as well. And I'm sure unemployment, the source for unemployment is in the unemployment chapter. But it's all in the economic report of the president.
Right. I'm just telling you that I'm uncomfortable risking my grade not knowing if what I'm using is what you want. I'm not willing to do that.
Okay. Well, I don't know what else I can tell you. You know, do your best. That's all. It's not about getting an exact correct number. It's about collecting data and drawing conclusions from it.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to be absolutely right, well, it turns out there's more than one right answer here because there's more than one correct way to calculate the inflation rate. Just for example, there's more than one unemployment rate. So you need to create a set of data, collect a set of data, and draw conclusions from the data that you have. And as long as you get your data from a reputable source, it should be fine.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, I guess my other question would be in the Appendix B. If you Google the ERP, Appendix B gives you like 3 or 4 different GDPs to use. So which one do you use?
Yes, it does. Okay. Well, if you read the chapter on GDP,
right,
it will tell you the difference between those definitions, and you need to pick the one that I asked for on the essay page where it says specifically what I'm looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else before we go to the main event here?
Well, actually,
Sure.
I asked a question on Twitter that never got answered.
What was that? What was that? Sorry.
If we could do more than one reflection paper on a specific topic,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially if we go at it from different angles, was my thinking.
Yes. A topic covers a range of things. It gives you a lot of different things to read, for example. So you could write a reflection on each of those, or any other aspect of the topic that you can think of, you can write a reflection on. So yes.
So I have a question. Can we also do reflection papers on articles that we find online?
Hold on. Who's talking? Chad, is that you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What'd you say again?
Could we do research? Oh, not research. Reflection papers on articles that we find online.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so that works too.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
It's pretty wide open.
Okay,
How
so
many
the description
reflection
of.
papers?
Oh. Here you go.
Heidi, was that you?
Oh, it was me. How many reflection papers do we have to do?
As many as you want to accumulate as many points as you want.
Whoa, wait a minute. So we're not limited to 150.
Well, okay,
Right.
you're right. You're right. It's just nobody is near 150 yet. At
Well,
this point,
I was going to write my little heart out,
okay.
but if I'm limited to 150, never mind.
All right. If you get to 150, we can negotiate if you want to do some more of them. Most people are not that close. All right. Let me talk about what I was going to talk about. First thing is I emailed everybody today about the second exam, which is a week from Friday on July 11th. Okay. Exam's going to be held in the Econ House at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. If you need to make arrangements for some other time, you got to email me by this Friday so we can get it all organized in advance. Okay. The exam covers topics 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's similar in format to the first exam. It's 30 multiple choice questions, same sorts of questions. You need to know the concepts. You need to know how to apply the concepts. Most students find the second exam harder than the first exam. Okay, it has more technical stuff in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the budget homework. Let me see if I can find the budget homework now. Here it is. Okay. If you look at the budget summary that is in the ERP, it gives you lots of actual years and then some estimated future years. You can pick any year you want because the shares, the fractions of the budget don't really change that much from year to year. If it was me, I would stick with an actual year because those are real numbers. The estimates are just estimates and they may not turn out to be the same way. Okay. What's challenging about this assignment is not everything is nicely organized in a line item. Okay. So, for example, spending on national defense includes more than what's in the line item labeled national defense. There's judgment involved here. Okay. What might you want to include in addition to the national defense line item?
I thought the national defense line item was big enough by itself without adding anything to it.
Okay.
Grace and I
Now,
felt the same way.
you can make that case, but there are at least two other things that you might add to that.
I added in science.
Okay, yeah. Science and technology, some part of that line item is actually used by the Pentagon. We don't know what percent, so, you know, you make a guesstimate. You can add the whole thing in.
I just added the whole thing in.
Yeah, bearing in mind that it's probably a little bit over.
Okay.
What else?
International affairs.
Yeah, the purpose of international affairs is to prevent us having wars. So most people would add at least some of the international affairs line item in there. Okay. One other big ticket item.
Healthcare?
Nope, not as part of the defense budget.
Veterans benefits and services.
Exactly. Okay, that's a cost of national defense that we just defer until the future. Okay, so if you add if you add veterans benefits to the national defense line item, and you add all of international affairs, and you leave out general science, and you hope that those last two sort of cancel out, it works out to be about 22% of the budget. In recent years, it's been somewhere between a fifth and a fourth of the entire budget goes to national defense. That's a pretty stable number. What about health spending, healthcare spending?
When I did mine, I included vet benefits.
Okay. Certainly some part of that is probably relevant, yeah.
Okay, because of the VA hospital system?
Yes. But there are veterans benefits beyond just healthcare. Healthcare actually spills over a bunch of categories. So you've got the health line item, which is actually fairly small. You've got Medicare, which is also a line item, and you've got Medicaid, which is not broken out there. So if you add health and Medicare together, you get about 25% of the budget, and that number is going to grow in the future because the healthcare system is sort of out of control.
Yeah,
And no one has a good handle on that yet.
Wouldn't the baby boomers aging have a lot to do with that number growing as well?
Yes, it would. Even if the system was not out of control, as the baby boomers age, we are going to be spending more on healthcare and using more healthcare just because we're a larger than average size cohort in the population, and we're going to need it. Okay. If that was the only problem, that would be great. But the problem is actually worse than that. Okay. What about Social Security? How big is Social Security in the federal budget? Did anybody find that or look at that?
Looking.
I did just Social Security, so I got about 22%.
Yeah.
That's 21.5.
In 2013, it was up to 24%. That's another number that's going to grow as the baby boomers age. So right now we've got a quarter of the budget goes to healthcare. A little less than a quarter goes to national defense. A little less than a quarter goes to Social Security. What about welfare expenses?
Only have 2% for that.
2%?
Yeah.
What did you include in welfare?
Let me look real quick.
We got as high as 33%. The different things that we
It depends on what you include.
Right.
The line item called income security is what we usually think of as welfare. Education, training, employment, and social services is also probably welfare. You could conceivably add some of the other things like community and regional development. When I did my math, it worked out to be 18%. But
So
it's about a fifth. Huh?
What did you include?
What did I include?
Yeah, and
I included income security and education, training, employment, and social services. That's all one line item.
yeah, I included that,
Okay.
but that was the only one I included.
Right. Okay. Now, the important thing is how much of the budget have we spent now with the items that we've talked about so far?
About 75.
It's 90% by my count. If you include national defense, health, social security, and welfare, that's actually 89% of the budget by my calculations. The interest on the debt has actually been falling. It's down to 6%. Partly that's because interest rates are so low. It's been as high as 15%. But if you look at the top five, okay, if you look at national defense, social security, welfare, and healthcare, and then interest, you've got about 5% of the budget left over. So everything else, spending on highways, agricultural subsidies, energy research, the cost of general government, the cost of paying the president and the Congress, those are all teeny tiny amounts.
What did you say the interest rate percentage was?
It was 6 in 2013, 6%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but the point is, those 5 have for decades been made up the vast majority of the budget. Nothing else really matters. So we can talk about, cutting Congress's salaries, and while that might make us feel good, and why it might even be justified, it's not really going to do much to the budget because it's such a small amount in the first place. In the greater scheme of things, I mean, look how big the budget is. In 2013, it was nearly $3.5 trillion. So that's a lot of government spending. Okay, so the point of this exercise was not to try to come up with correct, exact numbers, but rather it was to try to see that, kind of the relative magnitudes, and to just see that aside from those 5 categories, there's really not much else there. I mean, there are a lot of little piddly categories, but they don't account for very much.
Well, but to not to steal your thunder.
Of course.
But the whole who's paying in thing played into that, doesn't it? Because corporate isn't paying diddly.
Okay, let's talk about the revenue side. Okay, if we go to the revenue side, what we see is there are really only 3 major sources of revenues to the federal government. There's individual income taxes, there's Social Security taxes and retirement receipts, which is the FICA thing, the deduction from your paycheck, and then there's corporate income taxes. And as you point out, corporate income taxes really don't account for very much. Let me do my math here. E27 over E25 is less than 10% is corporate income tax. So 90% of the revenues to the federal government basically come out of people's paychecks. Whether it's FICA or your income tax, your regular income tax withholdings. Okay, so what were you going to say about that, Heidi?
That there's something seriously wrong with that picture, that corporations need to be paying more into the tax pool, then we'd have more money for important things.
Yeah, probably. Okay, but what the corporations would probably say is corporate income then gets taxed twice. It gets first taxed at the federal level, and then when we give those profits back to the stockholders, they have to declare it on their own income tax. Okay, so that is literally what corporate America says about your point. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't do what you're suggesting. It's a defense.
But isn't our corporate tax currently the highest in the world?
Yes and no. It depends on how you look at it. The problem is that our statutory tax rates for corporations are the highest in the world, but that's assuming that they don't have any way of getting deductions and otherwise reducing their taxes, which of course they do. Okay, so it's a complex issue.
Yeah. So isn't that why they're like moving it offshore?
Yes, that is certainly one reason. In fact, but it's not just American companies. Every corporation that operates in more than one country tries to move its income to the lowest taxing entity, and there are international rules about what's considered legal in how you do that.
Isn't that why the currently in the news, it wasn't this morning, maybe a couple days ago, they were talking about how all the Americans that hid their money in Swiss bank accounts are now facing issues?
Except, that's certainly a related issue.
Right.
Except that's harder and harder to do anymore because the Swiss are basically opening up the secrecy of their accounts. And the other thing is, when you put your money in a Swiss bank account, there is a cost to you for keeping your money secret. Do you know what that cost is?
What's that?
They do not pay any interest on those accounts. So you give up any interest that you could be earning, and that's not necessarily trivial. Okay.
Can I ask?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
How does it work? Say a company has a factory in Mexico and they have another factory in India and they have a small itty-bitty factory in the United States.
Yes.
I would assume that the taxes are not paid to the United States, which would be the highest rate.
Yes. Well, not necessarily, but quite possibly. Suppose you're right. The appropriate way to do this would be the income that the company earns in country X should be taxed in country X. Okay? But what companies try to do is pretend that more income, say all their income everywhere in the world was, quote, earned in the lowest tax place. Okay? Governments are smart. They realize that this is going on, and so they've made specific rules about that basically limit companies' ability to do that. Okay? It doesn't mean that companies can't still get away with things. It just makes it harder for them. Okay? Should we move on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now, you guys have a lot on your plates. Most of you are still working on Essay 4. Certainly Daniel is. And that essay is difficult, no question about it. I mean, the essay part isn't difficult, but certainly the analysis is. Nonetheless, we are currently in Topic 8, okay? Topic 8 begins the macro models for the rest of the semester that we're going to be doing. This is tough stuff, and I strongly recommend that you watch the lecture videos on the topic pages from here on out. If you go to the Topic 8 page, there's a list of videos. What they are is they are videos of my lectures, which I have cut down to little bite-sized chunks. Okay, and in the past, people taking the online class have said they really, really like those. They're really helpful. Okay. The focus for the next 2 weeks is going to be on the Keynesian cross model, which is explained in the appendix to, I think it's chapter 12. It's the chapter called the Keynesian perspective. Okay, so most of what I talk about in the videos for the next 2 weeks is going to be based on this Keynesian perspective model. Okay, we will go beyond that at some point, but the book covers way more models than that one. So what I'm saying is, in the interest of time, you should probably focus on that one appendix for now. Okay, does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You will learn from reading the other stuff, but the core material is in that appendix.
You said that was chapter 12?
I think so. In my version of the book, it doesn't have chapter numbers, so I just counted by hand, went down the list. The title of the chapter is The Keynesian Perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, it's chapter 12.
Thank you. So look at the videos, and then use the book to help you understand what you didn't get from the videos. And then, of course, come back to the Hangout next week with questions, and we can talk more about this stuff.
So is Topic 8 going to span over the next 2 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Okay.
but topics 8, 9, 10, and 11 are all analytical about basically modeling the macroeconomy. So it starts simple and then it adds complications, but most of it is the same basic model.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions?
Are you going to put grades on Canvas or just email it to us?
I think probably what I'm going to do is just send you each a personalized email over the next week and say here's where you are. I think that might be easier.
Okay.
If we send you an email about the exam, like to reschedule, are you gonna wait until the end of the week to have like rescheduling days? Like I sent you one, but I didn't hear back. So are you just like gathering?
Oh, yeah, you said you have to go away that weekend and you're leaving Thursday night. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I got the email and I will figure something out and I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
So I can just shoot you an email about that weekend also?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Do we need to let you know which day we're planning on being there, or which time, rather?
No, as long as you're coming that Friday, that's fine. I'll just hang out and wait for you to show up. Well, that's really all I have. I'm happy to talk if you guys have more questions, but otherwise, I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.